he's been working on all year. Trust what we've been working on as a goalkeeper group all year. Trust our style of play, and that the profile of the goalkeeper that we are putting together at this football club is going to be, well enough equipped to deal with whatever the game throws at him in the variability of what the game does. And look, there's enough video these days, Mikey, and obviously we do our homework extensively on the opposition, but the variability is very rare within what teams are or are not going to do in a game. Like Austin was exactly what we thought they were going to do. There wasn't much different to what we thought was going to. LA Galaxy have been exactly the same in the 3 games we played them this year. Whether they're different tomorrow night because they're looking for a different change-up, we will see. But I feel we have prepared the goalkeepers this week the best way we can to make sure that they are ready for what we know they will throw at us and anything else that may come within their system. If there's a system change, if there's a personnel change, whatever that looks like.
In regards to like the variables and everything like that, so let's not talk about preparing for these variables, but Adam, was there anything just speaking freely, like that you experienced during that game against Austin that either you didn't expect from an intangible standpoint, maybe the atmosphere, maybe how you felt emotionally or anything like that, that's going to better prepare you for your next first team match?
I would just say the atmosphere and things like that. For me, I had a kind of nervous expectation. I wasn't sure what it was going to feel like, and it was almost a calming factor for me. Helped me focus in, and like Sharpie said, the overthinking and the thoughts that you have. For me, it helped me focus in that present moment, and that for me was a little bit of a surprise because I wasn't sure what it was going to be like, and with an atmosphere like that. But it relaxed me and really helped me focus.
I think one of those things, Sharpie, how you talk about obviously the difficulty of when you have a goalkeeper that's splitting time and you consider your number 2, but you also want them to get reps. If Adam had just been with Rapids 2 the entire season, he wouldn't have been as familiar of the environments that he'd be going into, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I think too, this is part of the systems you put together at the club. I would never put unless it was absolute dire straits. We were 3 goalkeepers down, and young Zach was the next man up. But I don't think we'd ever put a goalkeeper in a situation, or a player for that matter, in a situation where they don't know the style of play. They don't know the expectations of the goalkeeper within our style of play. They're not familiar with what we're asking of the goalkeeper. It just wouldn't be fair on them. We have quite often 4 of the boys training with us on a daily basis, and they obviously too. Young Zach has to prepare for his games for Rapids too, also, or the 18s, wherever he's playing on the weekend. But they will often see Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and sometimes Thursdays with us during the week, so they are getting up to speed and becoming familiar with what the boss is asking in the first team environment as well. And it can be slightly different in the second team. Their style of play can be slightly different, obviously based on personnel too, whether we're giving them players for the Sunday game or they're going with all the R2 boys and some of the academy mixed lads, which is obviously wonderful for those goalkeepers because you're getting a nice mixture of guys and you have to manage certain pots of people. But again, for me, if we felt that one of the boys was going to be or has a chance of playing with us, they need to be in that environment and feeling the pressure of the experienced players around them, the Georgies, the Maxus, the Reggie Cannons, the Keegan Rosenberries, these types of guys, and making sure that they've got a nice sense and a nice feeling for those. And obviously that those boys trust what's behind them as well, which obviously seeing Adam and being with Adza all year, they very much do.
So let's kind of get back to these training sessions and everything like that right here. Adam, just out of curiosity, did your reps change at all during the week, or were they about the same?
What do you mean?
As in, were you
number of reps?
Number of reps. Did you see more reps than you usually do when you're not going to be starting, or is it the same amount?
It's all based on loading and what I'll see, but I think the biggest thing for us was making sure I feel good and going into the game. So we might have cut down a little bit, just so I'm feeling good physically and nice and explosive and light going into the game. But yeah, it is pretty similar.
Sharpie, is that on an individual basis, or is that kind of flat across the board?
Ads had a little bit of an interesting week. So, he had a couple of very long flights to Europe that, I just wanted to make sure that he, more than anything else, was physically feeling good come Saturday. We did cut down a little bit on the reps on the Thursday because ads didn't land until 4:00 on the Wednesday night. But again, I'm a big person for the pod. I'm a big person for the data. And like Ad said, the loading, I'm very upfront with the boys on their loading and where they are and the live data that we have at the training sessions. But I'm also very, very big on the feel of the guys. I will ask them to a point where they probably, get sick of me during the session. But in Adam's situation, like, Ads, how you feel? Feel all right? Yep. Legs are good. Yep. No, I'm heavy. Yep. Whatever it is. I just need to know I'm that person who wants that feel. If at any point I feel like I can see that they're lagging a little bit, done. Perfect. No problems at all. And I think, again, that goes back to the beginning of the conversation. That's the trust that I have with the guys and they have with me. But, we're fortunate enough to have the live data, and I know exactly where I want the boys on any given day. It's all premeditated. And obviously if they are not playing on the weekend, the 2 and the 3, I can afford to give them a little bit more throughout the week. And sometimes we adjust it. And look, sometimes for Zach and Ads and Ethan, like Zach will go, no, I want one more. Give me one more. It's a feel for him. And yep, no problems, the extra one. But, on that Thursday leading into Adam's game, we prescribed a little bit less for him. I think he may have taken one extra rep of the 2 ball at the end just because he wanted one more rep to see it again. But, there also comes a point where myself as a coach, I have to stop it and say, yep, you're done. You're out. That's my role and responsibility to make sure these guys are in the best position for themselves too.
Yeah. And kind of getting back to kind of some of these sessions here, if we're getting back to here or everything like that, like Adam, when you had the discussion, when you found out that you were going to be starting, were there any specific things? I know you said you wanted to keep the same routine and everything like that, but were there certain areas that you said, personally, I want to focus on these things to prepare myself for that match on decision day? Or, I mean, obviously you trust Sharpie and you trust, the scouting of Austin and everything, but from a personal standpoint, was there anything you were like, oh, I really want to make sure that I'm in tune with this?
I would say it, like you said, is trusting Sharpie and what he thought would I would see on the weekend, and training those things throughout the weekend. But I feel like the biggest thing for me was getting the timing right, feeling good, physically and mentally, just going in feeling sharp, clear decisions on everything, and yeah, just a feel good sessions, just going in and making sure all the timing and everything's just nice and clean.
Yeah, I love what you said right there, Adam. And it's Sharpie, I think this is something to really share with a lot of young coaches out there, is that make those goalkeepers feel confident going into that match. As opposed to if this was 4 months earlier and they're not playing, it could be different coaching behaviors. But that week is about making sure that they feel comfortable for that match.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, look, as you get, for myself, as you get more experience, you get older, you realize, certain sessions are going to create success. Certain sessions are going to create failure. Do you want success? Do you want failure? Do you want a little bit of both throughout the day? Are you able within the session to adjust if you are getting too much success, or it's too simplified, or it's too complicated and you need to simplify it? Do you have adjustments within your session you can make on the fly that offer those for the guys? I felt because of Adam's week leading into it that we needed a session on the match day -2 that would offer him what Austin were going to show us, but also allow him to have success both physically and mentally. Yesterday we've had 3 days to prepare for LA Galaxy this week, obviously because we're playing tomorrow night a day earlier. But Adam said something to us yesterday as a group when we were coming together at the end of the session. He said, I love this because we're seeing the ball fly past us. We're seeing goals scored on us. We're feeling that little bit of emotion, that physical touch, the desire to want to make more saves or keep the ball at the back of the net in very vulnerable scenarios, in scenarios that you've probably got a 50-50 chance of saving. Now, what does our positioning and our body shape, our hand shape, our timing, how do we tip the scales in our favor? But adds up, correct me if I'm wrong, was the first thing you said in the session yesterday is I love this because I've just conceded X amount of goals, but now it gives me something tangible to grab onto when we're watching the video and go, okay,
Yeah.
this is what we
It's
need.
learning.
I'm successful, you know?
Yeah.
See, I love what you said right there, because like, you know, and Adam, you know, I mean, credit to you. I mean, you are the most mature 18-year-old I think I've ever met in my life. I think you're more mature than I am. As I'm going. Hey, Mikhail, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah. By the way, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Trubchik?
It's Trubchik, but you can call me
Trubchik.
whatever.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Trubchik. Okay. Very cool. Awesome. Sweet. Sorry, man. I was just setting up the stream. So usually we have some B-roll playing during that, so people don't just see me clicking around and all that stuff. It gets kind of boring for people and go like, oh, is there not going to be a show? I go, I don't think you understand how technology works, but you have to set everything up. So
Yeah. No, this is my first podcast, just FYI. So.
oh wow. Okay.
But,
Well, just have fun, dude. Just have fun. It's a casual conversation. We'll just chat about it. I've got a bunch of decks here. I got a bunch of videos from Seasters and all that. So it'll be cool, dude. So we'll get this going in a second. Let me just get the branding thing going here, and let's see. Maybe find my intro video. And all right, yep, right there. So Mikhail Trubchik.
Yes, correct.
Listen. Okay, cool. And by the way, don't feel like you need to like wait for me to ask you a question or anything like that. Like if you have something you want to say, like just step in. Like we're just having a conversation. So and
Sounds
just sharing
good.
the whole Seasters message. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Here we go. Welcome to Inside the 18 and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me, no Saskia Weber. She's dealing with some family situations right now. We wish the Weber family all the best during these difficult situations. And we during this time period where it is Thanksgiving, you know, we just really want to pay it forward to everybody out there. So stepping in the big shoes of a 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Weber, to talk a little bit about paying it forward and mentoring the next generation all over the world, including Ukraine. We got the COO of All Rise Capital and one of the lead people out there for the Seasters Club in Ukraine, Mikhail Trubchik. Did I get it right?
You got it right. Good job, Michael.
Thanks, man. I tried. So people out there who aren't familiar with the Seasters and then what you all have going on over in Ukraine, why don't you explain a little bit about what the Seasters are?
So Seasters is women's professional soccer, or correctly, if you say it correctly, football club. Right? Seasters also has significant ownership of infrastructure in Ukraine, as well as women's and kids academies. So we currently have 6 academies. We currently own a stadium that can seat roughly 36,000 people. And
wait, hold on, 36,000 people?
Yes.
That's huge. So I think a lot of people aren't familiar with the fact that like women's soccer or football, as you'd like to say it, is that big in Eastern Europe. Has that always been the case, or is that kind of a new thing?
No. It's new. We actually started out in Ukraine by acquiring infrastructure first.
Okay.
Right? So we went ahead and acquired training facilities, stadium, and then started developing Seasters kind of from scratch. Women's sports is getting some traction in Ukraine, and our goal is to make women's sports, in our case particularly soccer, commercially viable and interesting, right? So it's not a hobby, it's not a some kind of toy for rich people. You know, we want to make this into a real business, right? Not
Yeah.
just, you know, not just because we love soccer, uh, but because we want to make sure that, you know, soccer and women's sports, especially in Ukraine and Eastern Europe, you know, becomes viable, right, and can be sustainable for a long time, right?
Yeah. Now, speaking of that, I was just thinking about that in regards to, you said that like you started out by, investing in infrastructure, because I think that might be one of the issues that, especially in emerging women's, sports markets, has difficulty with, is like they don't invest in the infrastructure. They try to just kind of go out there and develop these teams, but they don't have the resources. So how long was that process before you even got these women on the field?
We started out late 2018, and you know, and slowly been acquiring you know, significant infrastructure. And you know, we've been building up a lot of equity, so we've been doing a lot of this with our own funds. So you know, all the infrastructure is debt free, basically. And you know, just to be frank, it takes a lot to be able to own some significant infrastructure. Doesn't matter where you are, right? You know, cost of acquiring, cost of building can be significant. We've been lucky and fortunate enough to acquire this infrastructure, you know, through various you know, distressed opportunities that came up in Ukraine throughout the years. So, you know, we have this beautiful stadium that has a business center, roughly 100,000 square foot business center. It has an office, administrative side for, you know, the sports infrastructure, which is quite significant. We have a lot of retail there. We have a hotel there that you know, we house our team in, and you know, and then we have a fitness club with a swimming pool, indoor swimming pool, and you know, really high end type of a facility that our players have been able to utilize for, you know, training and leisure and so on. And
So
then
do the
on
player are the
top of
players
it,
like living on campus, like within this
they're
facility?
living on, yeah, they're living on campus. You know, we have, you know, food catered to them. We have trainers there 24/7. We have medical staff. Um, you know, we're trying to do it right, right? So
Yeah. No, I mean that clearly makes a lot of sense. I'm hearing an echo, by the way. Do you have the stream open on your end on a social or something like that? So,
no, no, I don't.
okay.
Let me
Okay.
see.
Do you still hear my echo or no? Is that gone? Okay.
I don't hear any echo.
Hey, this is the beauty of filming live, right? Right? You never
Yeah.
know what to expect. So I think, one of the things that, in regards to like this whole project, which is incredible, by the way, and shout out to you, because I think there's a lot of people out there who are in similar situations, maybe not the dire circumstances that's what's going on in Ukraine right now, but are in places where resources are limited, and they're like, well, what can I do to improve the education, for our players and for our coaching staff and everything like that. And one of the really cool things is that, we connected with you all in regards to this and said, hey, one area that's always kind of lacking is goalkeeper education. And when it comes to starting out a program, not saying that the goalkeepers are ignored, but there's other areas that you need to focus on first. And so, like, now having this kind of connection, like, is that something that is kind of one of the reasons that interested you all in starting a partnership with someone like the union?
Yes, 100%. Um, you know, women's soccer is just taken off in Ukraine, right? And number one, number two, there's a war going on, right? Not you know, wars go on everywhere. Like there's a war in Israel and Palestine and Iran. There's a, you know, always something going on between, you know, North Korea and South Korea. You know, anyways, to kind of cut it short, Ukrainian women's soccer isn't as much as developed as European or US. And although we have phenomenal people on the ground, I think we can, as a team, we can learn a lot from more developed, nations, as well as, more developed jurisdictions like US and Europe, right? And if you can just kind of look at the stats, the amount of money being spent on professional trainers and leadership in US is probably, multiple times, thousands of times higher than in Ukraine, right? So we simply lack, the you know the staff, the wherewithal to be able to get the same talent in. So what we want to do is we want to build a relationship with top, teams in US, and learn from them, learn from their, top talent and top trainers, and then maybe when the war is over, we can also open our doors to, you know to other clubs, not just from US or Europe, but other places that lack the resources. Our plan is to continue to invest into infrastructure. Our plan is to continue to invest into building out more academies. Like I said, we have 6 now. Our goal is to have 25 by the end of 2026. We would like to learn as much and invite, top world class trainers and talent to help us build this thing right, from
Yeah.
the get go.
Yeah,
So
I want to kind of throw this up here right here. So you put this whole like deck together, and it was so funny when we first all connected with you. You sent you a couple of these decks, and again, this is showcasing that like, when there's a will, there's a way type of a thing. So like, even with limited resources, like you're still able to make things, come together very, very, very professionally. I mean, from what it looks like in regards to the team itself is having not just success off the field but on the field too. Just phenomenal results.
yes, the team has done extremely well given the short, sh- short period of time the team has existed. And on top of it, from just pure economics perspective, I think our budget is half of our peers, in our league. So we're very proud of the team being so efficient and playing so well. Like I said, but on to add to this, we are looking at, how do we become a world class team, right? And how do we stack up against, US teams and European teams? And you know the European and US teams are a lot more developed. They're a lot more seasoned. Uh, you know they get some of the best, world class, sort of like trainers and programs implemented early on. And we want Ukraine and our players to have access, so they can eventually compete in US and Europe. And we want to be sort of on the edge of progress, right?
Yeah,
Uh, you know, I personally, I don't come from sports. I've been a banker my whole life. I understand infrastructure.
I don't know, dude. You
I
literally
think
look
that,
like the director of football operations. You've got the whole jersey going on right here. You got different flags in the background. You got a whiteboard. I like I just figured this was at the training center that you were at.
no, this is my office in Irvine, California. So,
Irvine,
but
California.
yep, I'm in Irvine. We have about 150 employees, excluding all the players in Ukraine currently. And we have other businesses also in Ukraine. I actually just came back from Ukraine a week ago, and I've been there a couple of times this year, and planning to do some more visits. Um, we you know, Ukrainian folks are incredible, right? There's a war going on. There's drones and kamikaze drones flying around, and these girls are training every day. Yeah, and by the way, the stadium is pretty close to the Black Sea, close to the ports. So the sounds from different attacks come through quite often, and you know it's one thing to visit, another thing to live there on a daily basis, right? So these are some really tough, talented ladies, and the staff, administrative staff, all the trainers are amazing, right? At the way they're holding everything together. And one thing I'll tell you, like these times are the ones that count, right? This is the time I think that's going to make the most impact in their lives, in their professional career, and in development of soccer, right?
Yeah.
They work now 3 times harder. They are so thankful for for the international community to connect with them and give them a chance of connecting at any level, right? Right now, it's so important for them to feel that the world is there to support them and to help them grow. And some of the toughest times, right, are happening now. And I think in during the tough times, the biggest growth happens, right? This is when
Yeah.
you start thinking outside of the box. This is when you start reaching out and looking at the best of the best in the world to learn from them. And this is the time when you start building this, this strong and really good foundation. And I feel like every time I visit with the team, um, I feel like they're developing 3 times faster than I am, right? They're under such pressure and tough times, and everyone is working around the clock to find the best ways to be better, to create something new. And on top of this, our team does a lot of volunteering, and I think volunteering goes a long way as well in player development, and and it, so it's at the end of the day, it's these ladies are super appreciative, very willing. Like you can never hear a no from them, from
Yeah.
any one of them, right?
Yeah.
And
Just
then
really
yeah,
quickly,
go ahead.
Mikhail, just because from a time constraint standpoint, I kind of want to get into the topic in regards to like mentoring that next generation and stuff, because like I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are kind of want to understand like what it is that you all are trying to do with different groups around the world and everything. And one thing that was spoken to me, by Seasters, is that it was important to not just find partnerships and collaborations for the players, but also for the coaching staff. And why is that?
Well, for multiple reasons, right? First of all, we want our staff to learn from the best, right? We want our staff to understand all the new developments, right? Our staff is responsible of creating and running, kids academies. But by the way, all the kids academies that we're running are tuition free, right? So we're picking up the tab. We have over 150 girls right now training. But if you're if you are stuck in your own presence all the time, you're not exposed to other practices in the world, you're just never gonna grow. I mean, you will grow little by little, but you're not gonna make this explosive growth, right?
Yeah.
So that's the reason we first of all, second of all, it is super crucial for them to know that international community welcomes them and supports them, and it's very important for them to feel this way, right? That soccer community is there, and it's a community. It's a real community. Yes, it's competitive, But at the end of the day, everyone in the soccer community is interested to make sure that the sport continues to grow and development continues to happen. So, same thing for the players and goalkeepers, right?
Yeah. And
They want they want to be part of this community, right? And
that's
during
something.
these,
Sorry, I was just going to say that's because that's one thing that I'm looking at everything here, and one thing that I find so wonderful about this is it's not about just the growth of Seasters and Insular and everyone who's involved with the academy, but like by doing these mentoring programs for the coaches, improving the coaching education, it's going to improve the coaching education and the development throughout Ukraine, throughout these
yes,
different communities, right?
yes, 100%. Our goal is to bring world class, training and education for not just our team, for the whole Ukrainian soccer industry. And our goal is to partner with a world class operator to bring them into Ukraine and help us operate it. And to be frank, Ukraine doesn't really have any international professional sports operator today, right? So I think whoever comes in first, it will always, in the history of development of the sport, will be, this entity that changed the entire industry for the entire country, right?
Yeah.
And this is sort of what we're aiming to do, right? We want to continue to develop it. We want, and we don't want this to be some kind of donation case, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to make it commercially interesting, right? And so
Yeah.
we can make this opportunity commercially interesting through, through infrastructure, through real estate. We can make it interesting through using Ukraine as sort of like breeding and growth ground. We believe it's going to be less expensive to train ladies and goalkeepers in Ukraine than versus any other country in Europe or US. We believe that geographically, Odessa region where our team is at has always been positioned as one of the best places to do sports due to its geographic location in the entire Soviet Union. There's a lots and lots of soccer fields in residential areas. There's a lot of kids growing. It has great potential. And another thing is kids from other countries like Romania, Moldova, all the surrounding countries are willing to travel there. Even now during the war, we have multiple international players living in Odessa and playing for us. And because we are also really focused on infrastructure, we are continuing to acquire additional training bases. We can become this hub for development of players, right? And development of coaches. But the goal is to the goal is to partner with somebody who already has top talent who can help us build this development program correctly, right?
Well, one thing I want to bring up about that is that I love the fact that you were talking about, because a lot of times when programs are seeking assistance with resources or anything like that, they're talking about what people can do for them, but they don't talk about that symbiotic relationship and what they can do on the opposite side. So like, the fact that you're saying, hey, it's more cost effective, to work with players in Ukraine and, hidden talent out here, for, no disrespect or whatever, but like maybe who haven't been found because they haven't had the right opportunities. These are things that there are clubs around the world that are looking again for cost effective places to train. And they're also looking for players that, for lack of a better term, from an investment standpoint, are going to be more cost effective than a domestic player. And I think that's just really, really cool. I love seeing emerging markets where you find all this possibility. I mean, look, we all know that Ukraine is chock full of resources, not just in football, but in other areas too. And to be able to showcase that to the rest of the world, I think is really, really enticing. And one of the things about that, that I kind of want to talk about is like, how do you see this evolving over time? Because you talk about like, hey, this is how we're starting out, but I'm sure you have like a long-term goal with all of this, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, we take things at different stages, right? So, the sort of intermediate goal, right, is to continue to acquire some additional infrastructure, continue to build out kids' academies, right? And obviously, when the war is over, and we hope it's going to be over soon, to start bringing over, mentors and coaches, or even just regular soccer players from U.S. and Europe to Ukraine. I think it also will be beneficial for them to come in and, first of all, travel internationally. Second of all, meet the local teams, um, and build relationships. I think there's a bigger goal beyond just sports. It's getting these kids to kind of integrate, and be kind of a world citizen, right? Both for Ukrainian and for U.S. and European and Asian and Middle Eastern teams and so on. But
So
the
is
biggest thing
Mikhail,
is,
just really quickly, I was going
yeah,
to say, like, how do like American universities play into this? Because I know that's a part of the conversation, that we had, with Seasters when we were talking about working
yeah.
together, and that there was a lot of players over there that not only have the the academic standing to get into American universities, but also the playing acumen to play at American universities.
This is all in development, right? So we are striving to become this bridge between Ukraine and all the world, right? So we want our players to have access to the world of possibilities, right? Different countries, universities, and so on, right? Average kid, average player in Ukraine doesn't know where to turn to, let's say, find a university to go to or to play with, and a lot of a lot of U.S. and European based investors and business community, they you know they haven't done a lot of business in Ukraine, so they're potentially looking for some intermediary that can be there, kind of like a bridge for them. Like, we are a U.S. based organization, right? That is a parent for all this sports company in Ukraine. It's a lot easier for investors and operators to talk to us here, and then we invite them to Ukraine, kind of show them around. You know, I believe if you go to Ukraine once, you're gonna fall in love with the people in the country, and you're gonna want to do something there because it's although it's an emerging market, but it's a European city, like it's a
Mhm.
European country, right? It's got a lot of character, it's got a lot of great people. It's geographically located in very favorable areas. Um, you know, but the bigger goal is to you know turn this turn women's soccer sport in Ukraine into commercially viable business that can be sustained by potentially merging with a large operator that can utilize all the facilities, all the grounds, all the staff to train folks, not just Ukrainian folks, bring folks from other countries, train them there, right?
So,
It's more
are you
cost
looking
efficient.
for like, a major club in the world, like let's say an NWSL club or a WSL club, to make a sister relationship, with Seasters, so that there's a give and take of resources, and then there's some sort of a education collaboration and a player identification collaboration, something like that, similar to like what Men's City has with some different groups around the world.
Yes, any type of a structure, is on the table, right? So
Mhm.
whether it's a sisterhood, whether it's like a full-on merger, we want to take this sports company that we've created and take it to the next level by engaging with the right partners, right?
Yeah.
And learning from the best. Like, for example, Miss Michelle Kang, right? She's investing a lot of money into top, coach and administrative talent, right? That takes a whole different level of commitment, right? Whether it's her international company and the U.S. company, or somebody similar that is a strong believer in developing players, developing administrative staff, developing coach staff, developing new programs. Someone that shares the similar, thoughts related to development of women's sports in this case, right?
Yeah.
So someone that wants to make an impact for the entire industry, right? So that's who we're interested to meet, right? Folks that have a long-term vision, and folks that want to make women's sports commercially viable, just like men's sports. And by the way, men's sports back in days was going through the same challenges, I think.
So
Lack of investment.
are you using that as a template, though, how the men worked on the fundraising side and gaining capital, or is it a little bit different because of the the gender and the cultural differences?
We're definitely looking at how men sports was developing, right? So there's some things that definitely align. There's some things that are going to be different. So yes, but the biggest thing is, like, we want to follow what folks like Michelle King's doing, and Casey Kern's doing, and Angel City's doing. Folks that are investing into developing, everything around the club, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just, hey, I need to train my players 24/7. It's like, no, no, no. What else are you developing? Education, food, mental, um, you know, like day to day, like you gotta build the world around the team, right?
Hmm.
So, you know, so we're trying to make sure that we're, following the top teams and top developers in women's sports worldwide, and take bits and pieces from them. But eventually, we want to have more of a formal relationship where we get to, use some of their resources. And I believe it's going to be a lot simpler when the war is over. But I think at that point we'll have folks knocking on our door saying, "Hey, let's do something together." Right now, it's a different time, right? But this time will pass, and I hope that we get noticed, for what we're doing, and you know, and if someone that is serious about investing into development of women's sports and soccer is interested to chat, we are very open to start building some type of relationship, and figure out how we can make a great impact on the sports, right? Listen, there's KC Current, for example, have built a stadium specifically for their women's team, and they are, I think they're the first one, at least in the U.S., that built a stadium specifically for the women's team. We are proud that we bought a stadium for the women's team, right? So
Yeah.
we didn't build it, but we bought it, and we're also proud of it, and looking to find like-minded individuals and companies who want to make an impact, and you know, maybe help us grow the right way, and professional way, and help us stay connected to the world community, and you know, and make an impact, right? I
Yeah.
can tell you certainly, you know, we can change soccer in Ukraine. We can change the entire industry, and you don't get a lot of opportunities to do it in a lifetime, right? There's
Yeah.
only, you know, certain times in your lifetime, or a span of 100 years where you can make such an impact. And you know, most of those times are during some tough times, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is the right time. Uh, there's a famous saying saying something like, "Do what no one else wants to do today to be able to do what no one else can tomorrow," right? So
Yeah.
it's that's sort of our slogan, right? So we're trying to make the biggest impact now. We're trying to connect with the best operators, the best sports developers now, position ourselves, learn from them, and maybe build a relationship that's going to be beneficial to them as well, especially when this insane war is over, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, one thing I want to bring up that I think is really, really, really awesome in regards to your whole presentation and what you all have going on at Seasters that I think is massive is like, one of the big things that's out there, especially here in the United States in regards to, the college game and everything like that is the empowerment of the athlete. And one thing that I've noticed is that in your program is that you're not just trying to empower the club, trying to empower the athletes. I noticed that even on the goalkeeper side, you're trying to work on the NIL side to name, image, and likeness and find marketing opportunities for these players to establish their own brand on social media that not only, generates traffic and brand awareness for the club, but for the players themselves as well. Why is that so important for you?
You know, so if you look at this just from economics, right? The better players we have in the whole country, the better each club in the country does, the higher your value is for the entire industry, right? So we're trying to grow value for the whole industry, right? And as you know, players they're not slaves, right? They can go to any team when their contract is up and so on. Like we want to empower the players, and we want to have an impact on the entire industry, right? Um, our infrastructure today is worth a lot more than the team itself, right? We have significant infrastructure, right?
Mhm.
You know, replacement costs is in the hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So we are not concerned about, you know, the valuation we get for the team. We're not concerned about, you know, pure economics. You know, we want to do what's right. We want to bring the right type of a partner, that has shares the same values, right? This is not about economics, right? If this was economics, we could have just, you know, sold off infrastructure, you know, quadrupled our money and be done with this, right?
Yeah.
So our goal is to bring the right partner that shares the same values to help us change the industry in the whole country, right?
Yeah.
Have an impact on the country, right? And you know what, this may result in us taking some type of a economic haircut because we need to share equity upside on real estate or something like that. That's
Mhm.
fine, right? We have ability and wherewithal to do this.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, that's the thing is that a lot of times when it comes to these types of programs and these types of projects, a lot of people are very hesitant because of the short-term distress that it's going to cause as opposed to looking at the long-term goal. I mean, look, if if people looked at it that way in regard to just using the United States as example, where would women's football be in the United States if people weren't willing to take chances and lose and be in the red, early on to see where things would go moving forward. I mean, look, I think one of the things that you were saying really good here is that, you're looking at what is our value right now versus what our value is going to be in the future. And you have value in certain areas that you may not have value in other areas, but because you have the value in certain areas, that's going to allow you to be able to recoup and get to the point where your other areas, the value is going to be even higher. I want to ask you, because if there's any other programs out there, I know there's similar projects in places that are emerging, such as South Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and everything like that. Like, what advice do you give to any clubs that are trying to pursue things in this type of manner?
Learn from the best, right? That's what we're trying to do, right? I think learning from the best. I think asking for advice, asking for help. It's not shameful, right? We're together. We can achieve more. Together as one industry, right? As one community, we can achieve more, and we can achieve it faster, right? We're women's sports is extremely undervalued, right? A lot of the training has been underdeveloped, right? That's why we are reaching out to the best of the best in US, to the best of the best in Europe, so we can learn from them, right? There are operators out there who are way more advanced in their training, right? Way more advanced, right? It's yes, we can try to do everything ourselves. That's one way of approaching this, or we can kind of learn from the best, or partner with the best, and share some resources and understand the training, and maybe some shared training sessions and so on, right? So we can all become better, right? It's gonna take, if we're serious about women's sports, it's gonna take everybody, right, to make a difference.
Yeah.
Right. What is the best training program out there for a goalkeeper? Like, who has the best one, right? What are the trends? What are the stats, right? Um, you can try to kind of invent the wheel yourself, or you can partner with folks and invent 20 wheels and run faster and get more stuff done, right?
Yeah.
This is our approach. And by the way, we are talking to not every, but majority of the clubs in Ukraine as well. We're talking to the ownership groups, and I feel like everyone is extremely welcoming. Everyone wants to make an impact. We're lucky enough because we are more exposed internationally, so we have more connections and contacts with international communities. Some of the local clubs in Ukraine, they don't even know, like, who to call or who to talk to, right?
Yeah.
Michael, maybe next time I'll invite a couple more club owners in Ukraine. There's some significant operators in Ukraine. I want to give them credit. They're incredible. They're continuing to invest a lot of money, a lot of time into it. They're continuing to build out some beautiful facilities. I think the world needs to know about them, and I would love to, when the war is over, we would love to host a couple of U.S. teams and European teams, Middle Eastern teams, Asian, African teams, and luckily enough, we have all the facilities to do it. We can house them. We can feed them. We can have space for them to train, to play, and some beautiful spaces, right?
Yeah. I want to, as we start kind of, moving into the direction of where we're going to be talking about, like, what and for those of you guys who are unfamiliar, the reason that Mikhail is here is because we are going to be announcing very shortly that the union is going to be doing a collaboration and a partnership with the Seasters, where there's going to be a mentoring back and forth of sharing our resources with the Seasters. Our mentors are going to be doing work with the coaches and the players over in Ukraine, and hopefully bringing over some players over here to get some opportunities at universities and professional teams. But I want to ask you, I've got this up here right here. The QR code's very fancy, makes it easy for everybody. How are the best ways that if you're somebody out there, whether you're maybe a club director or even a parent, here in the United States, that you can get involved in helping this cause and giving back?
There's many different ways to donate. We have set up an ability for folks to, like, if you want to sponsor a kid who doesn't have ability to buy professional shoes or uniforms and things like that, we have set up different ways to kind of donate money. We're also in the process of setting up a small nonprofit that's going to help kids that are maybe not ever going to be playing professionally, but kids that want to have ability to play some kind of sports in Ukraine. We're very focused on education, healthcare, and sports. And we also do some other social programs out there where we support kids that lost parents and kids that lost their living quarters and so on. So there's multiple ways where you can either become a sponsor or you can donate. It's easier if you become some type of a sponsor. You can either become a sponsor of the team or the academies. You can designate it, and then I believe the nonprofit's already set up, and it's also basically Seasters nonprofit, which basically we fund 99% of all the programs, right? We fund the nonprofit. We're funding the academies, and we want to continue to do so. I think together we can do more. So maybe instead of 25 academies, you can have 50, right? And so on. So for example, Seasters has donated some real estate space inside the stadium for a kids museum that got bombed. It's a math and science museum. So their building got destroyed by one of the Russian bombs. Seasters was kind enough to provide space at the stadium for them to open up their doors quickly enough, because hundreds of kids were visiting. It's not directly related to sports, but I think as a general development of a good citizen and a good family member and a good and a good student is to be involved in some kind of community, whether it's sports community, science community. I think kids that play team sports do generally better in life. I don't have all the stats, but I think that's how you fight poverty. That's how you fight, terrorism. That's how you fight, crime, is by creating, better citizens, right?
Yeah.
So that's our philosophy, right? So we believe,
yeah, I mean, that's
you're.
No, I was just gonna say, like that, like what you were saying there in regards to like, oh, this isn't directly sports related, but it is though, because like, again, if you're dealing with circumstances and that is affecting your everyday life, it's going to be very difficult for you to focus on your sporting life if you don't have certain necessities, within your life out there. And if we can find ways to help, improve those situations for people, then they're going to be able to, put more out on the field and invest more into their athletic pursuits. I mean, this is a conversation that's not just about Ukraine, but it's worldwide. And, speaking of that, one of the things is that, education, a lot of times, people think, oh, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. There are ways around that because people want to generally help, and it's just a matter of being creative and finding ways to make things work. So I know one thing that we're doing with Seasters, with the Union GK community, is that everyone involved in Seasters, the coaching staff and the players, are going to have free access, to all premium services with the Union GK and all our mentors in NWSL, MLS, NCAA, etc. Another thing too is that I believe you all are going to be sharing your content and asking for, feedback from our community on what we like, what we don't like, how can we improve this, and everything like that. And these are just little ways that our community here in Europe and in the United States can help to give back. But at the same time, you're also sharing things that we may not know. You might be doing something, that might be revolutionary, to some young coaches, or relevant to their own environment. So I think we always got to look at charity as like, it's not just a one-way street, because everyone can learn something from everybody.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all in this together, right? So, I think people can be united by sports development, and we can educate folks better and eliminate a lot of the craziness that's going on in the world, right?
Yeah.
So, we also believe that in investing into young kids, right? It literally changes the course of a country or a region, right? So less crime, less terrorism. It's a lot less likely that someone can convince a kid to do a horrible act if the kid is educated and well fed, right?
Absolutely. Oh,
Right. So
absolutely.
it's yeah. Yeah. So and one thing I'll tell you, Michael, when the war is over, we invite everyone to visit, and we'll probably do some big event at the stadium. That's not going to have cost for folks to come in, and we'll work with the city, to help out with housing everybody and so on. But there's going to be a big celebration and a big kickoff, and we want the community to be part of this. And Michael, you're yourself are very welcome, and you will be one of the first guests to be invited for sure.
Oh, that's very kind. And again, guys, if you want to reach out, we got the links right here. If you're watching the video right here, if you're listening to the audio, very simple. If you go to seasters.football on any of the social media platforms out there, you can find the direct contact links to reach out to them to donate. If you are specifically wanting to either sponsor the Union partnership with Seasters and everything on the goalkeeping side, you can also reach out to us at Goalkeeper Podcast on the Union platform, or contact at insidethe18media.com. Also, if you reach out to the Seasters, make sure to let them know, you're interested in sponsoring the partnership, and, what type of resources you want to bring for the goalkeeping side, because we're really, really excited to take this to that next step. Even with our limited resources, we're beginning this relationship right now. But as we get a little bit more resources, we're really can't wait to bring over these players and to go over Ukraine and all those things. And by the way, if you're listening to this and going, I don't speak Ukrainian, well, on the Union GK platform, everything has language translation capability. So we can translate anything from Ukrainian to English or what other languages you speak. So even if your mentor or mentee does not speak the same language, you can still collaborate and work together. Mikhail, if people want to learn more about what you're doing with All Rise Capital outside of Seasters, I know you work with other distressed properties around the world. Where's the best place for people to reach out to you?
Probably my email, and feel free to share it. It's mikhail@allrisecapital.com. We are, we are an investment company based in Irvine, California. We essentially we have 6 portfolio companies that focus on different areas. One of them is distress, kind of globally. Another one, and some projects come out of distress. So for example, the sports company that's been created, it came out of distress opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So there's certain projects, certain type of properties that we want to keep on our balance sheet, and we build an operating team around it, and clean up, operate, grow, and continue to invest. And we've done tech investments in Ukraine. We've done finance and factoring in Ukraine. We've also we also do a lot of real estate development in the United States. We also operate a data center company where we build and operate data centers in US, and so on. So we have in the areas where we have expertise, we typically try to stick to them. So energy related, real estate development related, sports, this type of tech, this type of approach, right?
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I don't want to hold you too long now, because I'm sure you're busy with the time differences right there. You probably try to get as much stuff done during the early day as you can. It's probably
Yes.
like 1 a.m. there in Ukraine right now.
Oh, it's not quite 1. I'll tell you in just 1 second.
Okay.
It's 9 p.m. basically.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's not crazy. It's not crazy late. So you still got a little bit of time. Well, guys, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you're watching this right now, if you're listening to this, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you're enjoying this very special Paying It Forward podcast of Inside the 18. And again, guys, we send all our best to the Weber family, during this difficult time. So please keep everyone in your prayers over there. And thank you to everyone who's been giving back this entire year to the goalkeeping community. That is all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.
Thank-